Your thoughts and your views are very much welcome, and that's the reason why you can send them through +233 5555 1111997. So once again, +233 551111997. This should be like the Lord's Prayer by now, isn't it? Thank you all very much for joining us for the show. We start off with the conversations very shortly, but you can keep your messages coming in. And also, while we're doing all of this, tell us how you think it's going to go on the two tables in England and in Spain. Of course, we'll be throwing focus on the others. We have a very good presence of Ghanaian players in Italy on both tiers of their football, the top and the second. Also in other parts as well, other parts of Europe as well, in France and the like. So we'll be having the conversation around all of these, looking at all these injury situations that have plagued some of them, over the past season, and how they can all recover and make sure that they are a part of the conversation for the next season. So for the next 9 months, we're going to be having weekend in, weekend out football. But where are the Ghanaians? And how active will they be? That is the conversation for this afternoon here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. Thank you all very much for joining us for the show.
So that's it. Let's give it a go. It's going to be about the journey, and we have to think about the start, where we want to be on day one. I think we had a good pre-season. We made some big strides, and we're ready to go.
In the best conditions, but it doesn't matter. Desire and trying to do well, and here control absolutely everything of luck and the vibes of the team, where is strong and all together doing what you have to do. I don't think there are a lot of teams that right now is in that perfect. So what I'm pretty sure that I learned from my experience in the many years, the season is so long, and the importance the players be ready mentally, especially, and for that you need rest. And yeah, I could have called them before and arrived maybe in the Community Shield in better conditions, but I learned that it doesn't matter.
How the coaches like to speak. Some say they issue disclaimers. These sound like reverse psychology or disclaimers, huh? So, Mikel Arteta there and Pep Guardiola, who talks about a reality that always stares, some of these clubs in the face. Some of the strenuous activity during the preseason, like these big international tournaments and competitions, which have a toll on the players. Eric Ten Hag, the manager of Manchester United, ahead of yesterday's opener, also issued that disclaimer. Said, "Listen, we are not tops, but we'll try our best." And yesterday they did, get that word late during the game. Manchester United now leading the pack. Some have already started trolling on social media. Charlie, this one is just for a couple of hours after today's round of matches. The decline will start. What kind of decline is this? And of course, before we go straight into the action and the conversations here, let me just refer all of us to, my predictions ahead of the start of the English Premier League season. So this is how I put it. And remember, I have my inclinations towards Chelsea. But you'll be surprised. So what I said was Arsenal winning it, Manchester City finishing second, Liverpool finishing third, Tottenham Hotspurs finishing fourth, Chelsea in fifth, and Newcastle in sixth. This is my top six. Once again, Arsenal first, Manchester City second, Liverpool third, Tottenham fourth, Chelsea fifth, and Newcastle sixth. So this is what, these are some of the messages that came. Kweju says, look, these are the usual suspects. There's nothing new. And then also there's Nathan Gaduga who says, Arsenal again, well, we'll see. But the boy says, Nat, you deliberately ignored the most successful club in England. Hello. And my good friend, Jerry Kwame Hudasi. Jerry Hudasi says, may it come to pass. This is Arsenal season. And Jerry goes ahead to add the emblem of Arsenal as well. Okay. Nicholas Adame Esiedu, my cousin, says, Manchester United go shame you. Attoh for Enyame. Hey, okay. This is your tree as well, though. So Nicholas Adame Esiedu wants Manchester to win it eventually. And then another one knights me this afternoon and says, Dega, his name is Dega Billy James. He says, Senat, Manchester United will, what did he say? Senat, Manchester United will lead the EPL. Mark my words. Okay, they are leading actually. What a beautiful world we all live in. Hey, and Bruce Freeman says, Nat, God bless you. You will go to heaven easily. Arsenal for life. Solomon Fosnapia sounding very, very much like he's threatening. They say, where is Manchester United? Must I shine your eyes? Maybe this Mama Vishati says, where's Manchester United, boss? Arsenal have been top and yet can't boast of anything. Replace Arsenal with United. Why? Okay, I will. Staying with us once again. Remember, it's +233 55 11 997. +233 55 11 997. As we go along, I'll be sharing some of the messages with all of us. So, Coach Kweju Ajay-Jima joins me from the heart of London, and he joined us during the last major, tournament. The last major tournament. I'm talking about the Euros, and we had conversations as well. And he's here to have these conversations as we get ourselves into the thick of the season in Europe with Ghanaian focus or Ghanaian interest at the heart of all of it. Coach, passionate man, thank you so much.
We're not going to make any.
Hello, can you hear me?
We're not going to make any progress.
Yes, I can hear you.
Very well, very well, very well. So it's all started. I don't know what your thoughts were just before kickoff of the Manchester United game. I mean, how things are going to turn up generally. Tell me what your thoughts have been. I mean, looking at what's gone on preseason and everything, what your thoughts have been and how it's going to turn out, on the tables in England and in Spain especially.
The Premier League
He's a
first
public
game.
speaker.
Start. I think this season.
All right, we are getting a bit of interference. Would rectify all of that and get the conversation going here on Joy 99.7 FM. Remember, you can send in the messages and we'll be glad to share with everyone else. Remember, you can also get on our Facebook wall on the Joy FM page and also on the other pages. Let's quickly take a look at some more of the messages. Another one from Akumaglo Joseph. It says, haha, Manchester United make beans. Okay. And then Nana Kwame Tree says, where is Manchester United? Another one says, Chelsea will definitely be fourth. And that's one comes from Daniel Ej. Okay. These are all messages that are coming, but it's up to the action on the pitch and how things are going to go. Okay, Coach, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can absolutely hear you.
Very great stuff. All right, so let's go ahead with your first submission.
So before the start of the tournament, I just said that. Oh, sorry. Before the start of the season, I thought Manchester United had a chance because, forget about the scoreline and what we saw in the preseason. I was quite hopeful for this particular team in terms of the direction, the signings. They've signed the right players for the right positions. And for the first time, we're seeing a Man United team that is getting well balanced gradually. It's not there yet, but it's almost there. So I just think that for every United fan, should be quite hopeful for the season. The league is still quite open. I don't actually have a favorite team at the moment because the window is still open now. I think that if Chelsea signs a striker, then Chelsea can also make a difference and stake a claim in this particular season. Arsenal, I still think needs a proper centre forward. So up until that moment, I want to wait to the end of the month where the window comes to an end. Then I can probably, or preferably give a prediction of who I think can impact the game. But at the moment, I still think the window is still open. There might be one or two players shuffling in and out here and there, and so that would be it for the Premier League. Of course, La Liga is going to be a very hot season. I've got Kylian Mbappe joining Real Madrid at the moment, and with those forward lines, it's just amazing. But I still find a problem with Madrid because it was the first game. I can't be too hard on them. It was difficult to find that split and pass. I watched the game and I thought Jude Bellingham was fantastic on the day, especially in the Super Cup, and the rest of the team were great. But certain teams will always sit deep, and you need that pass that goes in between the lines. And I still couldn't see that with this Madrid team. I don't know who's going to step into that quiet of coaching coach. The Tony Cruz shoes at the moment. So that's what I'm looking for. If they're able to sort that out, then I think Madrid will be a very, very, very solid team to come for years.
Well. Okay, so let's just briefly go over a few key notes on the Ghanaian interest we're trying to focus on this afternoon. And very shortly as well, we'll be joined by Maurice Kwanzaa, who is the editor of the Graphic Sports and also immediate past vice president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, SWAG. Okay, so there it is. Let's begin by telling you little bits about our man, deputy captain of the Black Stars, Thomas Partey. Thomas Partey, yes. My man, he comes from my side of town, yeah, we the Dangways are very proud of him. So all right, so you all do know how it's gone with Partey, key Arsenal midfielder, having very good defensive and passing abilities and leadership in the midfield. Now, he joined from Atletico Madrid in 2020 and has been crucial in stabilizing the midfield. However, he's had some injury problems which have affected his consistency, and that happened across the last season as well. And then we'll talk about the poster boy of the Black Stars, Mohamed Kudus of West Ham United, who's an attacking midfielder and a winger, being very versatile with great dribbling and creating and having goal-scoring ability as well, joining West Ham in 2023, that was last year, from Ajax, and quickly adapting to the Premier League and making a very big impact with his dynamic play, registering 16 goals and 17 assists last season. And then we'll tell you about Antoine Semenyo. Antoine Semenyo, the Bournemouth forward, who is young, energetic, and known for his pace, his strength, and his ability to take on defenders. He always reminds me of the elder brother of Asamoah Gyan. I'm talking about Bafo Gyan. Bafo Gyan was very expert at doing that, during his time, his active days for the Black Stars. That ability to take on defenders, that's also a whole good skill on itself. Now, remember that he signed for Bournemouth in January of 2023 after joining from Bristol City, and has been establishing himself in the Premier League, registering 8 goals last season. And then we'll talk about the whiz kid Abdul Fattah Isahaku of Leicester City. Now, the winger and attacking midfielder, the promising young talent who is known for his speed, dribbling, and powerful shots, who joined Leicester City last year after a stint with Sporting CP, and is seen as a future star for both Leicester City, who are returning to the Premier League, and Ghana's national team, which is in that transitional mode, registering 6 goals and 13 assists during the season. Let's talk about Jordan Ayew as well. One element of consistency and longevity. Let's talk about what he's done at Crystal Palace. Remember, the man who has great experience and a good work rate and versatility and the ability to score crucial goals, has been with Crystal Palace since 2018 and remains an important player in the attack, often playing as a winger or a striker, and registered 4 goals and 8 assists last season. And then in the La Liga, we'll talk about Inaki Williams, who was just recently promoted to deputy captain of the side, a forward who's known for his incredible speed, his strength, his versatility in the attack, and a key player for Bilbao. Now, he's been with the club since 2014. Yes, since 2014, and has consistently been a top scorer. Now, the athleticism and the work rate make him a constant threat to opposition and defenses, registering 12 goals and 3 assists last season. Now, Joseph Edu of Celta Vigo, the defender, being solid and reliable as a centre-back and known for all of his defensive skills and aerial ability and the composure under pressure. Since joining Celta Vigo in 2019, he's been a crucial part of their defense and providing that stability and the leadership there in the back. So we'll talk about all of these players and others that we're expecting during the season, not only in England and in Spain, but in other places out there, in Italy and also in France as well. Okay, so let's do some more here, Coach. Now let's spend a bit of time on Thomas Partey. This thing about injuries and all of that, and how it tends to destabilize the smooth movement and the smooth flow of play that will continue to solidify his place in the team. It becomes very worrying, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does become very worrying, and he's one of them players that Thomas Partey, that the manager Attoh has got a lot of faith in Thomas Partey because of his ability to play in different positions, and he brings a lot. He reminds a lot of Arsenal players of old. He has a lot of steel. He's got finesse. He can bring the ball from deep. He can be in the transition. Can take control over the midfield as well. He's box to box when he has to, and he can be very good in transition. So, Attoh has got a lot of hope in Thomas Partey. However, the key word is what you said earlier, is for him to be very consistent. So if Thomas Partey can be consistent this whole season, then that will be very, very key. Remember towards the end of last season, when he was supposed to, just recover from injury, and we had Jorginho played all the important matches. The moment he came and recovered fully, Attoh started playing throughout to the end of the season. That goes on to show the amount of faith that Attoh has in Thomas Partey. He has to be consistent this season. He has to avoid a lot of injuries and be fit for the season. If he does, I just think that it gives Arsenal a lot of chance, a lot of control in midfield, especially with Merino joining the team. I was about to join the team. It creates a lot of competition. Jorginho is also fit. He didn't go for the Euros. He prepared himself. So that gives it a lot of competition. Thomas Partey needs to be very focused this season. If there's any season at all in his career that's been very, very demanding, it's going to be this season. And so he has to be fit to be able to, compete for a spot in this Arsenal team, which I think is still guarantees a place in the team. But he needs to command more effort. When you meet a lot of Arsenal fans here in the UK and you talk to them, they speak very highly of Thomas Partey. However, the question mark still comes back to his injury-prone seasons that he's been having since he joined the team. So that's where the conversation ends.
The bigger picture, of Arsenal and how they haven't been able to hold on to being ahead of the pack is another very big worry for their fans, and generally from a football perspective. I mean, we're looking at this from both ends, where we want to see a Ghanaian win that level of silverware in a place as big as England. And Morris, it's been very worrying. I remember very well. I mean, 2 seasons ago when they played that second leg against Manchester City, and you could just see the leadership position just slip from Arsenal like that and go into Manchester City's hands.
Yeah, thanks. Nice to be on set with you. Good afternoon to you and your listeners and viewers. I think that shows the difference between an Arsenal and a Manchester City, and then Manchester United back in the day because that's where that big match temperament and the temperament to go the full season knowing what is at stake. Arsenal at a point looked like they were going to nail it. Unfortunately, a few games slipped through their hands, and then they lost it, and that's what makes a difference. And that's what defines a championship winning team. Your ability when to grind it out when it matters most. In the last few days, if you have Man City, like as we say, they see the title on the horizon. They see light at the end of the tunnel. Come on, last 5, 6, 7 games, they don't take their foot off the accelerator. And we saw it in Arsenal the previous 2 seasons. The good thing is that the team has built. I mean, they've reached probably their peak now, and there's a lot more experience gained from those 2 slip-ups the past 2 seasons. So I hope Attoh and his guys would have learned valuable lessons from those costly slip-ups and then keep their feet on the accelerator. I don't expect them to go the way of the Invincibles, go the whole season unbeaten. It's a very competitive league out there, but if you have your eye on the title, you have not won it for the past 2 decades and you really want to win it, this is their best chance. But they are going to face stiff competition, particularly from City. That Spanish man called Pep Guardiola, he is always hungry. He's always hungry, and he's able to get under the players' skin, get into their mind, get the best out of them, even to the extent that when his top players are out, you saw what happened, Kevin De Bruyne, he managed to get a certain Phil Foden. I mean, he may not have the flair of the Belgian, but he came up big in big matches, and we saw them running and winning the title at the end.
So while we say all of this and give the advice for Arsenal to stay there and keep their foot on the pedal like Manchester City have done in the last 2 seasons, then we're saying as well that this, looking at everything, this could be the last chance for Partey to do something significant with Arsenal. Could you?
Absolutely. This season is for Thomas Partey to bring his best to the table because, but I also think entirely, to be fair, it's not just up to him alone. Arsenal, for me, needs a top striker. You know, last season, like my brother Morris said that, last season they lost the Premiership because they didn't have a top striker. You know, City tried so much, playing very well in the absence of Haaland. But imagine when Haaland came, the number of goals that they began to score, and that is very important. The season comes in different phases. There are times when you're going to grind results. There are times that you need that man, whether the team plays well or don't play well. You don't fall on the team. You fall on that top man up front who can bang in the goals. And Arsenal needs a striker to be able to help Thomas Partey and the rest and the Odegaards and everybody to be able to compete. However, I also think that a player like Saka needs a competition as well. Saka has been very one-sided. He knows that he's going to be on the team sheet regardless of how bad or good he plays. They need to raise competition in key places and key positions in that squad. If they're able to do that, then they can compete. When you look at City now, on the bench, there's a lot of competition on the bench. So that always gives the team that extra edge. Whoever comes on wants to prove a point. And as a manager, that's the best position you want to be in. To have players that are hungry, top-class players that want to play. And that's what I think it should be. So Thomas Partey, of course, he has to do his bit. He has to make sure that he bosses the midfield, control the games, you know, direct the flow of Arsenal's pattern of play, which is very more like his game, and be able to also help in transition. But it's not only entirely up to him. Arsenal needs a top striker to be able to compete.
If you're just joining us, we're having a conversation about the start of football, club football in Europe for the season, and how our Ghanaian players can be very big players in there and very big participants in there. So it has an eventual ripple effect on the Black Stars and campaigns in qualification series for the World Cup and others. Here with me in studio is Morris Kwanzaa, who is the editor of the Graphic Sports and immediate past vice president of the Sports Writers Association of Ghana, and also Coach Kweju Ajay-Jima, also known as Passionate Man. He is in the heart of London, and he's been doing a lot of following and monitoring of these players and what they've been up to and how their game improves or otherwise. All right, now let's come to our man Kudus Mohammed. Kudus Mohammed is the reigning Ghana Football Awards Footballer of the Year. An amazing, adaptation, okay? An amazing way of adapting. Immediately he got into West Ham, joining the train, moving at the same pace, and making so much impact. I mean, some of the very touching moments last season were some of the videos that came on social media of the children who support West Ham, the kids who were giving very big reviews of the player. And of course, his trademark celebration of looking for the little stool to sit on when he celebrates. Great asset for the Black Stars going to the future, isn't it, Coach?
Absolutely. Thomas Partey's his adaptation to the Premier League is very stunning because usually players.
You mean Kudus Mohammed?
Kudus Mohammed. Kudus Mohammed. Yeah, his adaptation to the Premier League was very fantastic because usually players with that number of flair, the physicality, and the way he adapted was very, very quick. And for me, I was quite surprised because when you come to the Premier League, you can be the most talented player, but you need to get used to the tempo of the league. It's very, very important. We've seen great players come in and go because
that reminds me. Yeah, Coach. That reminds me of Radamel Falcao, who was doing amazingly well in the French league at Monaco, doing all the wonderful things, and then he came into England, and we just couldn't get it.
Yep, Falcao was one of them. Forlan was one of them. You can go back in the day of Varane. All of them, they couldn't fit the tempo of the Premier League because it's so fast that your physicality has to be spot on. You have to be quick on your bikes. It's just a very demanding league. They play a lot of matches more than any other league in the world. So your physicality has to be spot on. And for me, Kudus, the way he adapted and the way he was able to make that impact in that first season was very remarkable. However, in the Premier League, everyone will tell you the most difficult part of your time in the Premier League is always your second season. It's always going to be your second season. So this season, Kudus has to even be much, much better than he was in the first season. His impact is going to be very enormous. But the positive things to look out for is his teammates trust him more now. They know what he can do with the ball. He is not a newbie. He's not a rookie. He is coming to a team where they know his capabilities. They know his abilities. And he's got Lopetegui. Lopetegui is a Spanish. He loves players like Kudus. And so they've signed Fulkrug, who can also double up in attack. And that gives Kudus the room to be able to play and move into different positions, which is more suitable for his game. Don't forget, he can play on all those three positions up front. He can be deep in midfield and carry the ball in transition as well. So I just think that Kudus is going to be more refined as a player, but he's going to get more responsibility to be able to help his game this season.
Interesting stuff there. And there seems to be a lot of expectation, obviously because of the pedigree now of fans. Anytime Kudus comes home and wears the national team jersey, there's so much expectation of him. I remember when he had to get on social media and practically shut one of the fans up for being rude to him because they didn't see him come to the party in that particular game that the fan was talking about.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate moment, but I think it's part of growing up because I believe he wouldn't have done that if he were in England because then everybody will come. He's growing. He's a young guy. So he's now carrying the weight of expectation. People expect him to come and be just carrying the team on his shoulders like they see in the EPL. Unfortunately, there are different teams altogether. In the EPL, he gets to train with the players day in, day out. They only get 2 or 3 days to play together in the national team. So, but it comes with growing up. I think I share my brother's opinion, because now there's going to be a lot more pressure on him. When he came to West Ham, he came as a talented player from, respectfully, a lower league, that's the Eredivisie. But he proved his method, settled down quickly, and then he virtually ran the show. Now there's a new coach, the former Real coach. He's Spanish. He's also, he knows how to use such players. Hopefully, he'll be able to get some of the pressure off Kudus and allow him to have the ball to move into those open spaces, because he enjoys doing that.
Maurice, you've raised a very important point. From this end of it, where we watch and we see coaches and how they deploy players, it also becomes very important to sometimes just leave these guys who are multi-talented and and have that level of command on the ball to do their thing.
Yeah, there's a delicate balance. It's a team effort, not a one-man show. So you want to use the player where his strengths lie, and I think based on what we've seen of Kudus at Ajax and his first season in the EPL, we know that when he sometimes plays as the false nine, he gets the opportunity to run between the line behind defenders, sometimes open them, because you see, not just playing, the stats you mentioned, he scored and he gave some very good assists, but there's a new man in charge. Let's see the first few games, how he deploys them. I saw 1 or 2 preseason games, but those are a bit of warm-ups to get everybody settled in, and let's see how it's going to ground up, because now the coaches are going to mark him out tightly than they did the first season. They saw what he was capable of doing, so you just won't allow him to just run with the ball. But he's supremely gifted, so it becomes difficult to just mark them out. But we're just seeing the start of the season, and it's going to be interesting. But for as a Ghanaian, I would like to see him stay injury free, play as many matches as possible. I think they're not in Europe this time, so they won't have that extra burden of playing in Europe. But he remains fresh, as and when Ghana needs him for some of our AFCON and then the World Cup qualifiers.
Well, let's see how it goes. Coach, how many goals do you think Kudus should score, depending on the kind of job description you are prescribing? Especially as we want him to solidify his place with the statement he has to make this season.
I think first of all, it's about scoring the most important goals, and
Okay.
that always stays on the minds of the fans. They remember you for the assist and the goals you scored in the most important part of the seasons. So I just think that should be the first thing we should be looking out for. However, I think if he's able to get into double figures this season, it would be great for him. But with Lopetegui coming in, West Ham is going to play 2 different systems. And this will be how most Spanish managers, when they come into the Premier League, this is how they play. They like to control games, and so they will go for short passes, a bit, more triangle passing here and there to be able to control games. But they've signed Fulkrug from Germany, the Dutch player, the Dutch player, and so he will be a proper centre forward. In some games in the Premier League, you need to play more pressing game, a quick pressing game, which you can't control those games. So it will be a variation of 2 tactics. When they need to go direct, they go direct with 4 crooks and stuff like that. But when they need to control games, they will have the likes of Kudus and a few other players here and there to be able to move the ball around. And that will be very important. But if he's able to get into double figures, I think that would be very good. But key thing we should be looking out for is being very impactful, whether assist or goals in the most important matches. You're talking about the
Well,
big four teams, or
yeah.
now to say the big six teams.
Yeah. I remember that goal against Manchester City. Oh my goodness! You know that
Fantastic.
bicycle. I mean that was something else.
That was something else, as well as the goal he scored in the UEFA. He picked the ball from deep from his end, and so these are the moments that remain on the minds of fans. But as Rada said, the big moments, the crucial, because I mean you can start the season, score that number of goals, and when the competition becomes tough, when they need you, you probably hit blank. It's your value will be enhanced during those key moments when the team needs you, where you are able to pop up and deliver and move the team forward. So yes, it's going to be a tougher season for him, but that's the tough get going when the going gets tough. So we want to see Kudus live up to that hype. He's young and he has talent, and hopefully he'll get the coach to use him. And as my brother said, the Spanish coaches, they like a bit of expressive football, control the game, and I think that one will suit Kudus. Pick the ball, 1 or 2 runs, split, defensive, open, and then but it depends also on the opposition and the approach to each game. So it might vary, but I think he should be able to hit double figures this season on the on the strength of what he did in the first season, and then let's see how far he can take the Hammers.
Well, interesting stuff there. You also send in your thoughts. Remember, it's +233 555511. What did I just say? Okay, +233 5511 +233 5511 Okay, let's run along with it. It's on the stroke of 1 p.m. Just about some 53 minutes to go. Antoine Semenyo, Bournemouth. What excites me the most about Antoine Semenyo, away from every other thing, is his ability to take defenders on. I mean, that bullish attitude. And sometimes when the going gets tough, you need it. Especially as we find ourselves with the kind of situation the Black Stars find themselves in on the tables when it comes to qualification for the next FIFA World Cup. We need, because moments will be tough. We're going to play some away games that will be tough, and would need that kind of vibe.
Yeah, so Semenyo reminds me of Hasselbank. When I look at him,
Yeah, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. Yeah.
absolutely. When I look at him play, he reminds me a lot of Hasselbank, and I just think this season is very, very, very crucial for his game. He needs to work on his finishing, especially his choice of Arsenal. When I say his choice of Arsenal, I mean his choice of what to do in front of goal. Because most times he has a lot of energy, he's always running, but his finishing has to be spot on. Sometimes you just, as a striker, all you need to do is just go for a placement. Sometimes all you need to do is just a finesse shot. Sometimes all you need to do is just power. He needs to work on his decision making and his finishing on both sides of his leg. And if he's able to do left and right and come across that part of his game, I think he'll be a force to reckon this season, because he's got the energy, he's got the power, but I think he's still missing that finishing, when to shoot, when to go for placement, when to be clever. Most talented footballers and most players that are able to go that next level are players that are very, very clever. And he needs to apply more of that. If he works on that, I think then we know for sure the Black Stars is going to be there. At the moment, he still looks a bit raw in my when I look at him as a striker, because he has the energy in his running and he's chasing down strikers, which is very good. Chasing down defenders, amazing, but he needs to work on his finishing.
Okay. Work on the finishing, very, very important. So far we've had conversations around Thomas Partey of Arsenal, Mohamed Kudus of West Ham, and now we're on Antoine Semenyo. Antoine Semenyo, who plays for Bournemouth. Let's now turn the attention on this whiz-kid, Abdul Fattah Issahaku. Morris.
Yes, just a little bit of, yes, I'll do an Antoine Semenyo. Yes, Antoine is more or less turning out to be our top striker. We're still experimenting, and so, as he said, as a striker, that decision making should come in. What to do with the ball,
And it has to be real time.
it has to be real time. So this season, I would like to see a lot. Yes, good. He's chasing down defenders. He's very pacey with the ball. He's able to handle the ball well. But that decision making, and I would like to see a lot more consistency, because if you are the national team's top striker, we want to see a player who scores in almost every match or almost every other match, and not one goal in 5, 6, 7 games. Or no, we want to see that consistency and also translated into the national team. So this season is going to be a very decisive one for him. He need to step up plate.
Let's see how well he's able to step up the
But
plate. And
Isaku, I'm very happy with him. How he worked hard. He worked hard and managed to get them back into the.
that is for me the biggest story.
You know,
so
I am okay. So I was conflicted when he asked to be excused from the Black Stars for the AFCON. Yes, so you want players who are dedicated. Many will say, look, you put a national team first, but that's where he picks his paycheck week in and week out. The other thing, too, also is it tells you a player who's focused, who wants to get first team, continue holding down first team play, and then that stability, and then also get them right up there. It's ironical that he was excused and then he picked suspension, and then just when the team was out of the competition, he came back. But I'm happy he's shown consistency. As a young man, he's very talented. Now he will need to be a lot more focused and continue working hard. He has age at his disposal. He has age and then he's gone into a very tough league. The EPL the championship is very tough. The EPL is a different thing altogether. I hope he'll be able to continue holding down first team positions, stay fit, stay injury free, play consistently, score decisive goals. In fact, it wasn't just the number of goals he scored, but as my brother said, in key moments during the championship race, he popped up. He scored some goals. He gave the necessary assists, Vardy and some of his teammates. And I would like to see same thing there. He has a lot of talent. We are yet to see him at his full potential. Hopefully, in a season or two, he'll be able to do that in the EPL. But this is going to be a very decisive. He's got a new coach, so let's see. Steve Cooper is already an experienced person. He knows the terrain, and I hope he'll be able to get the best out of Isaku. The Ghanaian in me, yes, it's not so much about Leicester, but I want to see how our players improve, stay fit, stay fresh, stay focused, play consistently, and then translate that into the national team.
Oh, and good old Jordan Ayew. I like the way one of my favorite guys, Rigobert Song, former coach of Cameroon and former captain of the Indomitable Lions, he says Ayew.
Ayew.
Yeah, Ayew. You know, so we were having a conversation about CAN 2008 and when Cameroon got us, went past us into the final, and there was a picture on the graphic sports.
Is it CAN 2000?
No,
2008, yes, 2008, yeah.
And you know, there was a very big picture we had used on the front page of the graphic sports where Rigobert Song had grabbed, Dede Ayew was a very big trouble. He goes like, my man, you see me, old man, and you want to run with me? Yeah. I say, hey, my man, are you crazy? And it's been amazing so far, and the younger of the two has shown a lot of consistency. For me, that is, and he also finds himself, because of his family name and maybe other reasons, being at the biggest point of the criticism anytime the Black Stars don't do well. But you see him continuing to fight and continuing to play.
I mean, you speak with him, both Andre and Jordan. Yes, it's by no fault of theirs. In fact, in life, one of the things you don't have the choice. You have no choices to decide who your parents are. Fortunately, his father is a legend, but they've also proven that they also have talent. They also have talent, and yes, the name opens just one door, but it's the talent and what they've shown on the field that have opened the other doors. And he's been quite consistent. His game has also evolved from the typical number 9 to coaches have found ways of using him so when he was at Swansea, Aston Villa, the coaches have found a way of using him well. I've watched some 1 or 2 excerpts of their preseason. He still looks good, still looks hungry. He may not play about 90% of the matches, age and other factors. There's going to be competition for places in the team, but hopefully he'll continue doing what he does. He's in good company, Schlapp and other guys, and then hopefully Palace will remain in the Premier League. I mean, I don't expect them to be among the top 6. They will remain a mid-table side if all goes well with them. And then let's see how Jordan himself fares. I think he's in the last year of his contract with Palace, so hopefully he'll give it his best shot.
Akwejo, tell me, I mean, Jordan and the impact on both sides, club and country.
Well, I think for Jordan, when you look at him as a player, he's come very far. Days from Marseille, where he moved towards the Premier League and has been playing some important matches. But if he's one of them players that you always think there's something more. Can he do something more? Can he give something more? And you don't seem to see him get to that bridge, especially in that bridge when you're thinking he's about to cross into that world-class player and you don't see it. So he's a player that can come out. It's like a surprise box. He can always give you something unexpected. Has he got the talent? Yes, enormous. He's got good left foot, good right foot, good height, good area, presence. He's very quick. He can move into the wide areas, drift into the middle. He can play 1-2, so he can play as a centre forward. And I've always argued that in the Black Stars, we should be playing him as a centre forward rather than playing him in the wide areas because of his lack of ability to track back in the Black Stars team. When he plays in the Premier League, it's different because in the Premier League, even if you play him wide, the way the setup is, he's able to track back because you've got fullbacks and other players pushing high and stuff like that. So I just think that Jordan, he just needs to stay fit, be consistent, and pray for more game time. And if he's able to do that, I think what he can do, we know that he has the ability, he has the strength to be able to go far. But I just want to touch a little bit on Fatau Ishaku. I just think Fatau Ishaku will be this season will be very important for him. When you play in the championship, it's more about pace, strength, endurance. That's what the championship is about. So people say, it's always harder to even play in the championship. But in the Premier League, it's all about maturity. You have to have the maturity. These are players playing on a higher level. 1, 2, 3, the decision is already made. Before the ball comes, decision is already made. So if you don't take time, you'll be chasing after shadows in the Premier League. So he has to work on his maturity of the game, his decision making, and then choose when to put his energy, whether to run, whether to stay, whether to move into that direction. All about awareness in the Premier League. That's how you're able to stay consistent. So I just think for Fatau Ishaku, this season he has to mature from being a player that has talent by applying a player with more maturity in this season. And if he's able to do that, I'm sure the Leicester fans are always going to sing his name in the crowd.
Well. Let's see how things go with them. Here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM, a little towards 1:15 p.m. We're going all the way to the top of 2 p.m. So you continue to send in your messages in a bit. I'll be sharing as many of them as possible with all of us. And now we'd want to, turn the attention slightly on Jeffrey Schlapp. Jeffrey Schlapp, doesn't get the call-ups as frequently as probably like a Jordan will, but he's in there. He's sneaks in once in a while, gets a header in.
Yeah, I mean, goal scoring is not one of his strongest.
That's what I'm saying. Sneaks in.
Yeah, but but he gives his all. I mean, I mean, he's not the most standout players in matches, but
Gets the job
he
done.
gets the
more or
job
less?
done,
Okay.
and he's also versatile. He's able to play a different sides, deep in midfield, a bit like a holding midfielder on the wings. He gets the job done. Sometimes you ask yourself, why is he not considered for the national team? It's a conversation we'll continue having, but I expect him to also do what he's been doing. The Crystal Palace team get the team. At least I expect them to remain mid-table. I don't expect so much of them this season. He should give his best shot, and then let's see how the season goes for him. But it's someone I like him. He's got his head well screwed on. He plays his game and then leaves the rest for us to comment on.
Okay. Coach, got something to add on Schlupp?
Yes, I think Schlupp is a very, very solid player. He's very professional, with a lot of experience, and his inclusion in the Black Stars would have also been great for us as a team. There's another young player. He's called Ebenezer Annan.
Okay.
He's had a couple of call-ups for the Black Stars. He plays for Red Star Belgrade, and I think he's on loan now because of they're working on his Serbian passport, and so he doesn't fit into the number of internationals that can play within the Serbia Red Star Belgrade. But for me, with Schlupp and then Gideon Mensah competing for the left would have been a very, very solid for us. And so I just think that Schlupp should be reconsidered again for the chance for the Black Stars. And Ebenezer Annan as well, very, very talented, very tall, strong, smart, clever, intelligent. And I think these are the future for the team. Schlupp's experience, can impact the team as well. We need a mixture of experience and young players. Premier League, yes, Schlupp. I think any manager can always bank on Schlupp because he has a tons of experience and he's very calm. He has a good composure, and like what Maurice said as well. And sometimes he can play in the number 6 position. He's very strong, very solid. He knows what to do. He keeps it very simple when he has to. So I think he should be considered for the Black Stars again.
Well, would have to find a way of getting all of this to Coach Attoh, who does a very thorough job in including everyone's, input. So, well, let's see how all of it goes. Now, let's go to Spain, and I mean the key element there in
That's
Spain.
Kamaldeen Suleiman.
Yay, Kamaldeen.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Kamaldeen for Southampton. I'm happy they're back in the top flight. I'm not too sure if they'll be able to survive. They need to work hard, and even for Kamaldeen, I want to see his game evolve. I think he still has a lot of learning to do. He's a bit raw, but he needs a lot of growing up to do. He's young and he's somebody who a lot of Ghanaians like seeing in the national team, but I want to see him be mature a lot more so that he will impact a lot more positively on that game. His impact in the national team is still not being felt much, or I don't see that much, but I want to see him develop a lot more because he has talent and he has age on his side.
Okay, so we'd also have to briefly touch on, we have to touch on Tariq Lamptey. He after quite a while and after a lot of work in the background by the FA, finally wore the shirt, and we got to learn that personally on his side as well, he really had the desire to feature for Ghana. Not a very smooth start expected for him because obviously we need to look at his fitness and all of that. But he's also seen as one very key element for the future of the Black Stars. Coach?
Absolutely. Tariq Lamptey for me, hands down, commands the right back position, and there's no too much argument about that. We should start playing him more at the right back. This team is a very young team. We've got a few experienced players here and there, and that joins the team. So I think that Tariq Lamptey, the likes of Thomas Kudus, and Partey and all these players blending together. That should be the future of the team. And he's a very, very good player. He's very strong. He's a modern right back as well. Can play high the pitch, and you can play him as a wing back. He has the ability to recover. Most right backs can always search forward, but the ability to do both, to run and to be able to run back in recovery, is very, very crucial in the modern day right back or right wing. And I think that he has all that ability. His crossing is also not bad at all. When he surges forward, he's able to get incisive crosses into the box. And so I would always, any day, any team will select Tariq Lamptey. And I think that Attoh is very much aware. And I strongly believe in the coming months and years to come, we're going to see more of his influence in the Black Stars and in the future of our football.
And of course, while we do all of this, we're also we also have at the back of my mind, as I've mentioned quite a number of times since the show started, the campaigns ahead of us, the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, the AFCON qualifiers, especially Angola and Niger next month.
Yep. That's very important because you need players that understand the terrain of playing modern football as well, and also be able to understand how the African setup is. Tariq Lamptey, he's been guided well by his dad, not just him. We have Kudus, we have Partey, we have all these players that have that African influence as well. But we also need to understand that when you play African teams, it's different from playing European sides. And so we need to have that blend, that instillment of that Ghanaian spirit with us, to be able to push us on. And that is important. This responsibility brings a lot of pressure on the players. It's not a bad pressure, it's a very positive one. It makes them want to live up to the expectation that for the last tournaments, we've always tried to qualify for the last World Cups and so forth, except with the one in Russia. And so that responsibility is what we need to be able to live up to expectation. And Tuado, he's also new. He's still experimenting things, and I also believe he's also learning on the job. At some point, he's also all of it is going to come together 360, and it's very important. We need to be at US in 2026.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe we shouldn't get direct flights. So we all meet somewhere in the heart of Europe. We have a drink together, like we always do, and then we all jet off. Morris, I'm going to draw his itinerary for him from now. So, yeah. Inaki Williams getting also that upgrade in terms of his influence in the team, being nominated and being appointed duly as deputy captain of Athletic Bilbao. Registered longevity as well, being very consistent there. But always the question that comes is then, the goals that he scores, we have to find a way of having them replicated the same way when he plays for the Black Stars. And of course, the other counter argument is that he needs a very good support system.
Okay, let me take. Not surprised. He's played his best games for Atletico. He's played for many years. We even expect that his brother Nico will leave for Barca. According to reports, but I think it's a reward for his consistency and his loyalty for the team. He's usually very fit, strong. He hardly gets injured for a long period, so I hope you remain fit. You also hit the back of the net in form, and then Attoh needs to figure out how best to use Iñaki. He will remain in the team. As to how to deploy him is the thing. Because he has other options in attack. There's a Jordan, and there's an Antoine Semenyo, there's Iñaki and all. So he needs to figure out how best to use him. I am not here to tell him he needs to use him on the right, but he needs to find a way so that he's effective in the team and contributes positively. His return on goals is nothing to be proud of, but based on what he does in the La Liga, we know his potential. But how do we translate that potential into consistent performance? And then, as Rada said, strikers are remembered during those key moments. So those key matches key moments, that's where we expect him to pop up and then bang the goals or give those key assists that result in goals. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that. He's played a number of matches, and this is the time for him to stand and be counted. But a lot also depends on the coaching staff.
Okay. Inaki Williams for brilliance this season, Coach.
Yes, Inaki Williams, Athletic Bilbao. I think he's an icon there. His boyhood club, he's grown up over the years. And over the years, he's moved in different positions. He started as a traditional winger for Bilbao. He used to play more in the wide area. And then he gravitated towards the number 8 position, at some point on the number 7 position. And then sometimes, it was just what we call arriving in the box. So you're like an attacking midfielder, but you know how to arrive in the box. So based on how they set up, it depends on how he plays in that particular team. But with the Black Stars, we have to understand that there are some players that, with their back facing goal, they are very good with their back facing goal and they can score goals from that position. There are some strikers as well, with they need to face goal to be able to play well. And so Inaki Williams is one of those players that is very frightening and threatening when he has the ball and he's poaching a goal or he's making that arrival into the box. I don't think he's a number 9. We've always played him out of position. Inaki should be either a number 8 or a number 11 in our team, so that we'll be able to have strong midfielders in the team to be able to find him, because he has that tendency and that strength, that knowledge and wisdom to get into the box in arriving. He can read the ball, he can actually anticipate goals when he gets into the box, and that's his strength. So he might not be like a Nuama, typical winger like a Nuama, but he has that tendency to arrive in the box in those positions by facing the goalpost. So if we want to get the best out of him, we should always understand that he's not a number 9, he's not a number 10, but he can always arrive in the box, like what Real Madrid done with Jude last season. Jude was not a number 9, but he had anticipation, and the coach just put him on top of the diamond to be able to arrive in the box in a very key moment. Inaki Williams is like that player. He can drift wide when he has to. He can play a bit in the middle when he has to, but he also has that sense to arrive in the box. He reads games well. Also, he comes with a lot of experience because he's played against all the top players you can ever imagine. He scored the Barcelonas, the Messi's Barcelonas, the Ronaldo's Real Madrids. The list goes on and on. The Valencias, he's beating everybody. And so at some point, Real Madrid considered signing him. That's how much of a quality player and tons of worth of experience that we have in our disposal. So if we're not using him well, then there's something wrong with our team.
Well, go across to Celta Vigo, and there is Joseph Edu, especially in times like these when we're talking a lot about the defensive setup and who. I mean, we've just spoken about Tariq Lamptey and his abilities on the lateral lines, and now we're looking at the center of defense. And Joseph Edu is a player who surely will come in handy, and so obviously we would want to see him also perform well for Celta Vigo.
Yes, I believe he's recovered. Even for he was playing for Ghana and got injured, needed surgery, and it took him a while, couple of months. I hope this time he'll be fresh. You'll be able to, when you come from that long layoff, getting back into the first thing, holding down regular position is a tad difficult because now others would have warmed up into those positions and those partnerships established. So, but we are going to a fresh season, and I hope he'll be able to get back to his usual and remain consistent, because we saw him until his injury. He was very consistent for Celta Vigo, and then he was invited and he picked up that injury. If he's consistent, then he adds to some of the options we have for our defense, because we're still finding ways to tighten the bolts and nuts in our defense to make it watertight. We still haven't got the right part. Now there's a Jiku who has brought in some stability and consistency, who he partners it with. We're still looking at the options available. So Joseph Edu becomes an extra option when he's fit, when he's in form. And if he shows consistency, that will be plus for Chelsea, will be plus for the Black Stars.
And also would spend a bit of time on Alfred Duncan, who go to Italy now, and his exploits with Fiorentina. He doesn't necessarily, I mean, maybe if you talk about the last 5 call-ups, he wouldn't be necessarily like a consistent name in there, but he's there, he's playing. Coach?
Yes, Duncan is very strong. He has a lot of drive and he has a lot of energy. I just think that the coach would have to also think about game, how to use him. One thing I like about Duncan is, when he passes the ball, he has a very, very good passing range. And the way he's able to, receive the ball in between the lines sometimes, and his ball distribution is very clever, smarter. His understanding of the game has improved in the last few seasons, and I think that he'll be very, very useful for the Black Stars in a unit. Some players are very effective when they play in a unit, and we should be looking at that. We should be looking at building a formidable team rather than depending on individuals. So when those brilliant players are there, then it's always like a cherry on the cake for us. So I just think Duncan will be very important this season. He's one of those players, very indispensable for Fiorentina, and they've shifted their focus in the last few years, targeting younger talents and younger players. And he has one of those potential to be really, really big. So I think Ghana, we should be utilizing him in a very useful way in our setup.
All right, so let's go to Emmanuel Jesse, who plays for Spezia. Emmanuel Jesse, every time you'd want to go back to those Barcelona moments and all of that, which brought him out in a very big way, but obviously has a lot of work to do in terms of how he can settle into the Black Stars. And also the difficulty for a player like him is while we are in rebuilding mode, we also need the results. So there's not much room for testing. It's like you just need to have your A game all the time, irrespective of the situation, because the train is moving and the coach needs the results. Yes, he's rebuilding, but the fans go to the stadium. We're playing a qualifier, and we need to get the 3 points and the goals to be there on the table.
Yes, in those moments, players need to assume more responsibility. I think players that demand more of their talent, demand more of themselves, are always this. They always want to do well, regardless of whether it's a friendly match, whether it's a big game or a small game. And I think that players that have that ability to get to that level are players that are always demanding themselves. He's a very good player, but he has to be able to show more, and that's important. Because if you want to play for the Black Stars, especially with a team that is in rebuilding process, then obviously you have to give more to stay on the coach's mind, because the coach is trying this, he's trying that. So whoever fits the system might not necessarily score goals or that, but whoever fits the system, so show more, give more ability to our team, and that is very important. I think with us as Black Stars, we look at the players that are able to dribble and able to pass the ball well and that. Now it's more of a teamwork, and the coach is looking for that team spirit. It's been missing from the Black Star team for the last few years, and we need that team spirit. When we had a quartet of the Asians and the Montaris and our peers, that's where the team spirit was. And so we need that type of team spirit to be able to go on and build our younger players like the Anthony Annans joining and all that bit. So we need that, and that's what we're looking out for. So whoever forms part of that synergy to build the Black Stars to that level is where the coach is looking at. Because you can always bring in good players in, but believe you me, they can come in and fall out if there's no team spirit. And that's what great teams are all about. Examples are there for the Real Madrid for everyone to see how it's always been the last few years.
Well. Interesting stuff there. We'll now throw, the focus on Alexander Jiku. He's there in Turkey, and he finds himself at a place where we've recorded a lot of excellence, because of which any Ghanaian player who comes there gets the ripple effect of the love and the great memories and good omen and good, support. And so Alexander Jiku, I remember, some 2.5 seasons ago, he won the Footballer of the Year at the Ghana Football Awards as well, because of his performances, and is gradually also establishing himself in terms of his psyche for the national team, and the way he is able to command and lead and organize at the back when the opportunity presents itself. Now the new job description at Fenerbahce would require that he also does more, because Fenerbahce is a big brand in Turkish football.
And I'm happy. I mean, the transition from, yes, he moved from the Ligue 1 to Fenerbahce. It's a big team in Europe, Turkey. But I'm even more. I'm happier that he has Jose Mourinho as his coach. You need somebody with that experience to be able to hone your talents and take you to the next level. And Mourinho demands a lot from his defenders. He likes them a bit rugged as well, as rugged, and he has somebody like Jiku who will put his head where someone will not dare put his leg. And hopefully, if he plays a lot of matches, he's consistent, he improves. We'll see that translated in the national team. We've already seen it. Still looking at the partnership, but we'll need to see him put up that week in, week out performances for Fenerbahce, and hopefully with Mourinho we can only hope that he improves, it keeps improving, and then it will rub off on the national team. But he's in a good place.
All right, so more to come here on the Joy Sports Link. In a minute, we will activate the phone line so that you can join us with your thoughts. Just gone by with some analysis on Alexander Jiku. He is also seen largely as another face for leadership in the Black Stars team in the future. And these are all conversations we want to have ahead of time. Talk about Jose Mourinho. Coach, I want you to tell me what your view is about the bite that he still has. I mean, you're looking at some names that have been around in Europe for a while. I mean, you're looking at someone like Carlo Ancelotti, who day in, day out is playing that silent master game and getting the job done and making all of these big achievements, which place him in a very marquee and a very creme place. Jose Mourinho and that bite, there are those who always like to argue about it. He has the likes of Jiku in his side. What can he do in Turkey?
So the Turkish league, is a very ever-growing league now, and I talked to a lot of Turkish fans, and Fenerbahce, arguably together with Galatasaray, the eternal rivalry always goes on for years, and then you've got Besiktas on the other side as well, and so Jose Mourinho, he brings a lot of confidence to any side, and I think the most key thing is if you're a player and you want to dream, then Jose Mourinho is the manager you want to work with, because he makes players dream. He's able to get the best out of you that you don't even believe and you don't anticipate. And so players always want to play for Jose Mourinho. He's not just a manager. He makes you play for him. For the last few years, the reason why he hasn't able to fit in the Premier League in the last few years is he's not getting warriors and soldiers that want to play for him. A lot of these young players now are being spoiled by the money, and they're on big contracts, and they're taking huge sums in here and there, so they don't even care. They don't care. They can play here, move to the next club and play. Jose Mourinho makes you conform your mindset to playing for him. So if you have to put your neck on the line, you would. And by so doing, you know that you improve as a player. So if you're a player and you want to dream, want to go to the next level, you become part of him and he becomes part of you. And that's exactly what he's bringing to Fenerbahce now. He's going to transform the club, because Fenerbahce in the last few years have always struggled. As we speak now, Galatasaray is way ahead of Fenerbahce. And Jose need to transform their mentality into a winning side again, not just a competing side. And it takes a lot. They just got knocked out of the Champions League. They're going to be playing Europa now. Now that's a lot of pressure and demand on Jose, a backroom staff, and the team. And so they will have to come together. And that in the long term will go a very, very long way to help Jiku. I just think Jiku is a natural born leader. He's very strong. He has strong mentality, and he always want to learn and improve. And there could be no better manager than with Jose Mourinho, who he's always has a room to improve players and to be able to, especially with him, he builds his team from defense. And that's how he always goes when he goes to any team. He builds his defense first. If he doesn't score, he doesn't need to concede. That's Jose Mourinho's mentality. And that will be a very important part of Jiku. That will demand more of him, his awareness, his sharpness, and will all come together. So I think the Black Stars are in a better state with Jose Mourinho managing Jiku.
Well, interesting stuff there. And greetings to our friend Michael Nkansa, who previously was spokesperson for Asante Kotoko here, the Greater Accra region, having a good time at the Emirates and flowing with my prediction of having Arsenal win the competition this term. We'll be activating the phone line very shortly here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. Just about some 18 minutes to wrap it all up here. I'm still here with Morris Kwanzaa, editor of the Graphic Sports and immediate past vice president of SWAG, the Sports Writers Association of Ghana. Also joining us from London is Kwejua J. Jima, coach and also a football analyst, seasoned football analyst. His name on social media is Passionate Man. We're all passionate, aren't we? Yeah. So we'll talk about France a bit, and immediately Mohamed Salisu comes in, and also gradually establishing himself as a key name in the national team.
Yeah. Salisu is very talented. We saw him when he was in Spain, England. Unfortunately, when Southampton, we had a lot of problems in the latter stages of the season and had to move to France. I was actually hoping that he would have stayed in England and keep improving. Monaco isn't, with all due respect, the place where you move from the Premier League and expect to improve there. I would have preferred you moving from Monaco to the EPL and for somebody who had played in the La Liga and shown promise. But I hope you continue. The most important thing is once you stay fit and you are consistent, then a player of that with that quality, then for the national team you expect that he impacts positively. He has a lot of talent, that is without doubt, but the consistency in form is what currently, and sometimes in the national team he overindulges and sometimes he gets out of position. When we played against the Central African Republic, we saw he lost the ball, recovery was difficult, and then lateral defense was exposed and we considered some two avoidable goals. So I want to see him improve. Hopefully, he's settled at Monaco. Hopefully once he's injury free and he's consistent and we see that improvement, we'll see if the partnership with Jiku worked well. It worked to some extent during the World Cup in Qatar. There were times that Attoh played Salisu, Jiku, and Daniel Amate. Amate has issues with injury, consistency, and the back line of the Black Stars also has a lot of problems. So let's hope that as Jiku and everybody else improves, we'll be able to get some stability at the rear in the national team.
More on stability at the rear in the national team. We'll talk about Alidou Seydou of Clermont Foot and also Gideon Mensah of Auxerre in a little bit. But you can call now, 0302-216-541, 0302-216-541, and also 055-11-11997. Obviously, if you're outside of here, you'd have to prefix with the code, the Ghana code. So it's +233 30 221 6541 or +233 55 11 11 997. Once again, 0302 216 541 and 055 11 11 997. Okay, Ali Duseidu, been there at Clermont Foot for some close 3 seasons now. What does he also bring to the party in terms of, our outlook there in Europe and high performance?
I think Ali Seydu, we know he's more defensive than attacking, and I think this season he has to work on his game as well in attacking position, because right backs and full backs sometimes the most important thing is always to defend when you're called as a defender. But some part of the game you need to bring a bit more to the table, and I think that for him, adding attacking part of his game or developing his attacking, that means that when he goes forward, his crosses, making sure he's reading the game very from an attacking position is also equally important, And when that helps, altogether, it helps build his game, and also a little bit touch on Salisu as well. I think Salisu, he has to be able to learn how to read the game more, and that is very important to his game. Yes, he has the physical presence, he has that ability at the back, but he needs to read the game more. He needs to watch more tapes of strikers' movement, because he's always caught up in strikers running behind him, and he's caught up in the track and delay. And I just think that to be a top-class defender, you need to read the game more. You need to be clever. You need to be smart. And that's where his game is lacking. And so when I compare both sides, especially in the Premier League, it's very quick. Wingers, strikers, they're moving, especially when you come across very, very good sides. They will just mesmerize you, and he has to read the game more. Alidu has to improve his game going forward, and not just the defensive side, because we know he can defend, but when he has to go forward as well, his passing, his crosses, his incisive even to the middle as well. These days, there are a lot of wide fullbacks that are becoming more inverted midfielders. He has to develop that part of his game to be able to fit into any side he walks into.
All right, let's before we come to Gideon Mensah. Gideon Mensah is one of the players that excites me. When we have to talk about prospects and when we have to talk about coming to the party, performing on big days and all of that. But in a recent qualifier, there was a sub that came on in that game against CAR, and Morris was just drawing my attention to it. Now, Abdul Mumin, very youthful player, and found himself go through the system at Right to Dream, finding himself at North Zealand, and then going to a couple of clubs, including Vitória Guimarães, and now finding himself there at Rayo Vallecano, where he's made some 36 good appearances and is looking good.
Yes, I am. I know that player. He's a very young player, and I think together with him and Eben Annan, we're going to have a good left back position filled properly, and I think that's very important. And with Rayo this season, I think he has the ability to play against some of the best players in the La Liga, and so it's going to help him improve the game more. Is when you go to these top leagues, it's not the fact that you're in these big teams and that team and that. It's the ability to come against the best of the best. They test you. They make you learn. When you make mistakes, you come back thinking, okay, you get prepared. You prepare yourself and you anticipate your movement, for the big moments and the big matches. And that's important because they're playing in the La Liga. They're going to play in the League Cups as well. And so all of it is going to build you as a player and as a unit with a good manager. And, he's Ghanaian. The way Rayo also plays. Rayo is one of those teams that you can never write them off against any big team. Like whether Real Madrid or Barcelona, they can always cause upset. It's like Celta Vigo. So he's in one of those teams that he can actually pick up the pace and learn. And I think that he'll be very useful for the Black Stars in the future.
Very well. Remember 0302 216 541, 0302 216 541, and also 055 11 11 997, 0302 216 541 and 055-1111-997. And now we'll talk about, we were just talking about the left back position. And that brings me to Gideon Mensah of Auxerre, who over the course of time has found his rhythm, in the Black Stars team, and now is able to play a settled game. Don't know if you agree with me, Maurice.
Yes, he does. My only worry or what he needs, like Alidu Seidu, as coach said, he needs to continue improving consistency. Gideon, he gives off his best, but sometimes those key moments, a few wrong tackles. Yes, as a defender, I mean, sometimes you go in for those tackles, but there are key moments. That's what defines you as a player. I want to see a lot more consistency, top level play, because the consistency helps you improve. In the Ligue 1, you're going to play against some pretty decent players. When you come to the national team, because you don't have the opportunity to train over a long time, no body movement, and then the team spirit, the quest for zero defects. You should minimize those lapses. Some of them become very, very key moments in games. So the consistency in the national team is something I want to see, and which means that he has to be very consistent at the club level and keep improving his game. He has a lot of potential, but we are yet to see him at his full potential. Yeah, he plays with his heart out, but it's not just playing with your heart out. You've got to minimize those elementary mistakes sometimes we see of him. On a good day, he goes up, doesn't always track back as quickly as we like. The crosses sometimes are good. So we want to see a lot more improvement. We started a new season. Hopefully, let them remain injury-free. They are very important so that it helps in your development and consistency.
Well. Interesting stuff there. Remember, you can join us via the phone. It's 0302216541 and 055-1111-997. And then that also brings us to the conversation about these players and how some from where they sit think that Coach Attoh should be keeping constant 11s so that then that consistency can be achieved. Is that an assertion you agree with? Let's begin with you, Coach.
I think at some point he's going to have his favorite 11 for sure. His most gallant men that is going to ride the horse with. That will be coming. But at the moment, he's going to give a level fair playground for everyone to also show what they can do. And that's where you have to grab the bull by the horn. When you get the moment, seize the moment and establish yourself. Because this team is still a very young team and it's still very competitive. And so if you can prove what you can do, I think the coach will always have you in mind, especially with the style and system he wants to play. And also a little bit on Gideon Mensah. I think Gideon Mensah struggles with confidence. When he plays, has he got talent? Yes, he has. But when you see that he's a player struggling with a lot of confidence, and when he gets the ball, he gets stuck. He doesn't know whether to pass, whether to move, whether to do what he has to do with the ball. And so he needs to work on his confidence, and then he also needs to work on his physical ability to be able to track back. Because as a fullback, your ability to be able to track back and to be able to accelerate will be constant in the game of 90 minutes. So there's no putting off your foot off the gas. You have to be able to up on that task throughout your whole game, because just one pass, that's it. Your team is exposed. So he has to work on his game. He has to work on his confidence and bring more to the table, because he's got a talent. But I just think he's short of confidence.
Well, Morris.
Yes, I think
getting a constant 11, around this time, or it's too early?
Oh, getting a constant 11, the word constant. Otto is a new coach. He's not new per se, but he has a new set of players, and he has, if you talk to him, he has his own idea about what system to play. And then your system also depends on the opposition and the ability of the players. You want players who can adapt to different systems. When there are injuries, who do you fall on? So it's important that everybody is informed. And then, as coach said, there are so many Ghanaian players, very talented players here and out there. So you need to catch the coach's eye, but not just catch his eye, to be top of mind awareness. You mentioned Sané, you mentioned Kudus, you mentioned this. So you also need to bring a lot to the. You need to do it week in, week out, so that top of mind awareness is there, so that then the coach will also factor you in his plan. Because if I should give you top 11, I'm sure there are some names which will run through, same as the coach. But for a player who wants to hold down regular position and what we call constant 11, that they need to do a lot more and be consistent. We always talk about the Liechtenstein era and all those things. What we forget is that many of them played together from the age group level. So by the time they got to the Black Stars level, they had played together for 5 or more years. So they knew each other, body movements, the vibe in camp was tough. They grew up together. It's like young guys growing up together in the hood playing Coles football. So they know each other, they know what to expect and all that. We don't have the same system now. We are picking players who have shown form. So it takes time for that team building, that bonding to be established, and then where consistently we'll be able to pick what we call our regular 11. But it will take time.
Time indeed. Let's see how things go. And so based on that and all of these conversations we've had, I don't know where you stand regarding how the season is going to look like. Let's begin with you, Morris, in let's say like Spain, because the two leagues have
Spain, Real Madrid. Let's see. They have a solid team. They won, and Carlo is still there. There's Mbappe. Let's see how he blends. As coach said, he expected a lot more from them, but I think it's the first match. Let's see how Barcelona and others respond. But I expect a very good season in Spain. And then Germany. It was nice to see and Bayern Munich overthrown. Let's open it. Yeah, because it was becoming too boring, too predictable. The thing about sport and football is the unpredictability of it. That's what makes it nice. And let's see if we can really overthrow Man City, the blue side. It's good that the trophy remains in Manchester, but now, you move from the red side to the blue side. But I think this is the time for Arsenal to show some big match temperament.
So people, for those of you who are, I've seen some people bless me with long life for mentioning Arsenal to win the season. I'm Manchester United. I troll them from my friend Annie, but I have some good friends. Madrasa Wabonsu, the editor graphic, Theophilosiati, my friend Mrs. Manisian at GCB Bank. We call her original area fine girl. I'm sure she's already blessing me, but hopefully we'll have a change in the EPL. Greetings to the MD of Omni Bisic Bank, one of my godfathers in Accra, Reverend Daniel Asiedu, who doesn't play with his Arsenal stuff.
Oh, really?
Hey!
Oh, Reverend, you're too nice to be an Arsenal fan.
Reverend Daniel Asiedu, I'm sure will be excited to hear us talk about Arsenal possibly.
But
I also am looking at it from I think the sentimental point of view. I want Partey to just win something major.
For me, it goes beyond Partey. Yeah. I think Attoh has learned, has worked himself. He was almost on the brink of being dismissed, but he took the bull by the horn and he worked. He got Obameya, those players he felt were distractions. He got a team that was focused. He needs a lot more depth, and that's where they lack now. They'll be playing the Champions League and other things. It means that they will be exposed. He needs a lot more depth and consistency, but hopefully something good will come out of them.
Well, let's give the final word to you, passionate man. How do you think it's going to look in England? Top four?
England is still open now. I want to see to the end of the transfer window.
Okay.
If Arsenal signs a striker, a top striker, then I can say Arsenal has a chance this season. Could that be the last season for Pep Guardiola? That's another question on the table. Should Arsenal win the season? Could that also change Pep Guardiola's mentality could he change his decision of not leaving the league but staying, maybe to compete more and finish? So all those dynamics can also play a factor as well. Is City declining? That's another thing we should look at. You look at some of the key players and you look at Kevin De Bruyne and you see their number of minutes and games are reducing gradually. So these are things that I think for the football fans watching and listening should be looking at as well. Arsenal looks more hungrier, but I believe they need a number 9. Chelsea, for me, needs a proper centre forward. They've got almost every position filled of world-class players, but they need a number 9. After Diego Costa, they've never replaced a number 9. Lukaku never made it, and so Lukaku is out of the picture. They need a proper centre forward.
All right.
Man United looks refreshing, but a bunch of young players, mix of 1 or 2 experienced players, look exciting. A lot to look out for most United fans. I'm sure our dear brother and friend Morris will be happy for that, And so it looks a very, very exciting league. There's no clear-cut favorite. City will be there for sure, and the other 3 teams that I've mentioned also will compete. But I think after the end of the transfer window, that's the end of the month, I think that we can properly talk about who I think is going to be in the Premier League title this season.
All right, Coach, thank you so much for the time.
You're welcome.
Coach Kwejo Ajejima from the heart of London joining us on this conversation. And also Morris Kwanzaa, thank you all so much. Thanks to the whole production team. And Pastor Daryl Kwao, who has predicted for like a Chelsea to get up in there, has the Joy Headline News at 2.
I don't have that much faith.
Happy birthday to Cornelia Rabna Aruna Esiedu, branch manager at First Atlantic Tema branch. And I'm sure Kwame Dazi will be giving you a musical shout later on this afternoon. There's a big conversation coming on Showbiz A to Z after the Joy Headline News at 2, some music and all of that. Keep it here on Joy 99.7 FM. We'll be back next weekend with another show. Thank you all so much. Joy Headline News next. My name is Nathaniel Attoh, and I have